Here's the carving tool with the broken tang. What I've got to do is convert this lump of a shoulder and the broken tang into something that will fit into a handle. The end result will look something a bit like this. You see there's no shoulder, and there's a washer here that sort of does the job of the shoulder. So the first thing we need to do is to remove this part, the front part of the blade shoulder, and on the other side the back part. In other words, to flatten this blade so we take all that off there. It doesn't matter if this part of the tool goes blue, because all this end of the tang should be annealed. It shouldn't be hardened, it should be a little bit more resilient. But I am going to dip it in water occasionally because it's going to be a bit hot on my fingers. So I'm going to start the belt, and then I'm going to put this flat part on the belt and flatten it off like this. Here's the blade flattened off. What I want to do is just make this a little bit more pointy at the end on this side. So keep it fairly flat and then a little bit more pointy towards the end. The next step is to work out how our new shoulders will fit onto the handle. Here's the handle, the ferrule, and it is so wide at the top. And what I want is for the tang to go into the handle and the new shoulders to sit pretty much right across and onto the edge of the metal there. So what I'm going to do is mark more or less. Let's just do it this way here. Yeah, it's about right there. So if I just mark that with a pencil for the moment. So that is where we're going to form our new tang, by taking metal away like this here. And take this bit of metal away and that bit of metal away, and then that becomes our new tang there. But what we've got is quite a hard piece of metal here, and a wooden bit. So what I do is I add a washer here. Now here's a washer that's about the right size for the tang, but look how wide the hole is. So what I need to do is find a washer that's actually got quite a narrow hole that more or less just covers that tang when we make it. So even though it's wider, I can always grind this back once I've got the blade fitted. So having worked out where that is, and now going back to the grinder, and probably a wheel grinder is better than a belt grinder, and I'm going to remove this to a nice sharp angle. And what's important is that this meets that accurately. So we've got a straight line across there, so it will sit comfortably into that handle. I managed to get quite well in with my grinder, and you can see there's quite a substantial sort of tang there now. What I'm going to do is to hold it in this little metalworking vise, and we're going to use files, either a square one like this or a triangular one or even a bigger flatter one. And first of all, make sure that this shoulder here is square with this shoulder here, and that this washer will slide down and sit snugly onto those little protruding ledges there. I put a piece of masking tape across here so that I could eye through the shoulders properly. You want to make sure that this tang is dead in the axis of the blade, so not tilting over, so be careful about that. Here's my washer, and I've actually opened it up a little bit with my file just so that it sits snugly there on the shoulders. So with that, I'm ready to start thinking about putting the handle on, which is going to be there. Now this is an old handle, a little bit big, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a little bit of filler in here, a little bit of araldite, and then when I bang that home, the araldite is going to fill in, the araldite being an epoxy resin, is going to fill in this gap around here as well, to make, just in case there's any movement this way. So I'll do that, and I'll fit the handle, and we're almost there. So I've mixed my 2 parts of this epoxy resin, or I'm mixing it, like so, make sure it's well mixed. And then I'm going to put this into the actual hole in the handle. And of course when the tang goes there, in there, it'll squeeze out. And we'll deal with that. Okay. And then lining that handle up. Right down onto the washer, and we're going to put it this way up like this to dry. But what I am going to do is just add a little bit more of that epoxy into that hole. So this is a bit of a filler. I don't think it probably needs it, but I just make sure that's nice and tight. So that's filling rather than gluing in there, and I can cut that off when it's gone dry. So we'll leave that now to go dry, and then all I've got left to do is to just clean up this washer on the grinder. The glue has now set, and I'm going to take off this excess ridge. You could leave it on there, but myself, I like to have less of a sort of thing sticking out. So it's just a matter of grinding it down like this. Here's the finished tool. I've got the washer flush with the ferrule here. The shoulders of this blade are now sitting strongly on the washer, and there's a nice strong tang in the handle. So the tool's now up and ready to be put back into service.